In a recent interview, CNBC's Joe Kernan took on Elizabeth Warren in a heated debate about Elon Musk and the wealth that he has created. Joe Kernan calls out Warren by stating that Elon Musk has created tens of thousands of jobs, billions of dollars of shareholder wealth for himself as well, but he's changed the world and the country, and they should be proud that he's from the United States. Kernan goes on to say that Elon Musk will be paying $11 billion of tax this year, and yet Elizabeth Warren has said that he needs to stop freeloading off the rest of us. So Kernan asks, shouldn't he be celebrated and not disparaged as some sort of robber baron? Now Elizabeth Warren responds by saying that she's happy to celebrate success, but let's remember that Elon Musk didn't make it on his own. She says he got huge investments from the government, from taxpayers, from those public school teachers, and from minimum wage workers who've been paying their taxes to get that business up and running and help see it through rough times. Now, I'm very much up to date on the Disney Marvel shows, especially with regards to the multiverse, and there's a high probability that Elizabeth Warren must be from another reality. In this universe, the Department of Energy created a program called the Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Loan Program, and the purpose of this program was to get US-made vehicles to meet higher mileage standards and reduce dependence on foreign oil. And even today, we're seeing firsthand the United States still has a large dependence on foreign oil, and with the needless Russia-Ukraine war, which is sending oil prices spiking to recent highs. These inflated oil prices affect everything that needs to be transported and anything that uses oil as a raw input, such as fuel, plastics, coatings, and more. This all has a painful impact, especially on low-income families, perhaps those minimum wage workers that Warren has mentioned, where the increase in the cost of living eats up their entire income base. And so the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007 authorized a $25 billion loan program, which was funded by Congress, to essentially invest in technology and the future of the country. Now, from this program, Ford received $6 billion and invested the money in upgrading its engine factories. It has still not paid back the loan. Nissan received $1.6 billion to invest in their electric vehicles, which was the Nissan Leaf, and they actually paid back the loan in 2017. Even Fisker Automotive was supposed to receive $528 million, but lost access to part of the loan as they later defaulted and declared bankruptcy. Tesla was awarded $565 million as a loan, which they paid back in full with interest in 2013, being the only American car company at the time to pay back their loan. And so the government and taxpayers and public school teachers and minimum wage workers actually made money from this investment in Tesla. Elizabeth Warren, of course, has to mention public school teachers and minimum wage workers to make it seem like Tesla and Elon Musk have somehow taken money away from these people. But in reality, if the government makes money, as they did on this loan to Tesla, these groups of people see none of it. But what Warren completely misses is that this loan program wasn't about the money. It was about the technology and helping to secure the country's future, which actually has a much broader reach and broader financial implications across generations of families. Again, this program wasn't about generating more imminent tax revenue like Warren believes. The US is extremely lucky that one of their investments actually helped someone and that Tesla was able to do something useful with it, because the government's investment track record is atrocious and they lost money on most of their other companies that they lent to. Now again, this wasn't free money from the government. It was an investment loan to Tesla, and the government got their money back with a return on it, closing the loan agreement in 2013 when Tesla paid it back. So now let's pose the question, if you invest in a stock and then you sell the stock, and after you sell the stock shoots up higher, does that have anything to do with you anymore? Or if you give someone a loan and then they pay you back in full with interest so they no longer owe you anything, and then 5 years later their company multiplies its size by 20 times, do you think you deserve something now? Well, the answer is no, you sold out and you closed the investment. You no longer have any financial stake in the company. Yet for some reason, Elizabeth Warren believes that she is entitled to more money from Tesla's success. She stated that taxpayer money helped to get this business up and running and to help see it through rough times. While this may have been mostly true until 2013, the government helped Tesla, which very much needed the money during those rough times, and they got paid back. But since then, neither the government nor the taxpayer has held any stake in Tesla. Tesla's stock price saw most of its gains after the year 2020, which was 12 years later. Elizabeth Warren failed to mention that around the 2018 timeframe, during the Model 3 ramp, Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy again. The government was nowhere in sight. So when Warren says that these huge government investments helped to see the company through rough times, this was true 14 years ago, but hasn't been true since then, and there were many times when Tesla almost went bankrupt. And moreover, the government should actually be ecstatic that the original purpose of the investment to increase fuel efficiency and reduce dependence on oil is today at the early innings of a major success. Tesla is basically fulfilling single-handedly the government's mission, and Tesla doesn't want any additional help or loans or taxpayer money. This should be seen as a major win for the government. But Elizabeth Warren goes on to say in the CNBC interview to remember that Elon Musk didn't make it on his own. Well, what's interesting is that the other companies received far more money than Tesla and couldn't pay it back. So there must be something special about Elon Musk and Tesla, otherwise the government throwing money at everything would have helped everything, which is certainly not the case. While Elon Musk didn't make it completely on his own per se, he also didn't make it just because of the government. The government played its role, and then they were out of the picture. Tesla was successful because of relentless efforts from a talented team under the leadership of Elon Musk. And so Joe Kernan calls Elizabeth Warren out on this, that Elon should be celebrated because Tesla and of course SpaceX and his other companies are huge successes for the United States. While the US is not near energy independence yet, there is certainly a path now because of Elon Musk and Tesla, and it might be difficult to quantify that and how many billions or trillions Tesla will have saved the country decades into the future compared to a reality where Tesla could have failed early on, along with everyone else. While Warren says she's happy to celebrate success, her words sure don't match her actions. And by the way, stop using Yahoo Finance, stop using Google Finance, and have a look at our website, themarketisopen.com, where we have instant stock quotes and financial data going back 10 years, and it's all freely available. Elizabeth Warren's quibble is with billionaires not paying enough tax. She says she speaks for all Americans when she states that when you make it to the top, to the very tippy top, then pay something in so that everyone else gets a share. Keep in mind that Warren is a politician, and these words sound great and make sense at a high level. Anyone can get behind free money. But in reality, taxpayers don't actually see any of the money that the government makes from its investments. As a matter of fact, at the current rate of government spending, you would also need to collect taxes from an alternate universe's United States in order to keep up with the government spending in this universe. The government spends about double what it brings in tax revenue. It's also worthwhile to emphasize, as CNBC's Joe Kernan stated, that Tesla has changed the world. They're on the path of converting the world's fleet of combustion engine vehicles to electric. They've single-handedly caused every major automaker to start working on electric vehicles. Tesla isn't even stopping there. They're working on replacing fossil fuel energy generation with batteries and solar, and perhaps in the future they will tackle energy efficiency inside homes. This is far more than the government was looking for. These products didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago, and today the access to them is much higher but still low. Only a small fraction of cars today, around 1%, are electric. There's a long way to go, but electric vehicles have helped their owners to mitigate inflation, especially at the pump, which behaves like an additional tax. And of course, Tesla is planning for extreme scale to get this technology out to everyone. This alone is more than enough to justify any past government investment or any sort of tax that Warren is calling for. It turns out that Tesla's reach goes much further than anyone thought in terms of helping Americans and everyone in the world just from these new products alone, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of jobs that have been created directly and indirectly, and the wealth that Tesla's stock has created, especially for those minimum wage workers and public school teachers who actually invested in Tesla and made money alongside the company's growth. But Elizabeth Warren is going after Elon Musk, saying, okay, he paid tax this year, that's great because he chose to sell some stock. She would prefer that he be forced to sell the stock. It's almost like she missed the boat on Tesla and feels like she should get something out of it after the fact, now that Tesla has succeeded. While she states that Elon Musk is at the tippy top and his ultra-high net worth makes it seem this way, this is not exactly the case, and she is once again prematurely trying to extract money out of the system at exactly the wrong time. Warren wants to create a wealth tax to force billionaires to pay tax on their wealth rather than their income. This is a type of tax that practically doesn't make much sense and would attempt to tax unrealized gains. It would be equivalent to having to sell a small portion of your house each year to pay tax. And it makes just as little sense to tax unrealized stock gains. For example, this year in 2022, Tesla's stock opened near its highs of about $1,200 per share. Let's pretend that a wealth tax requires Elon Musk to pay some amount of tax just for holding onto these shares. So the government sends out a tax bill for something he hasn't sold yet. It's almost like the plot of Minority Report. Shortly after, Tesla stock dips dramatically. We saw it go to around $750 per share within the first 3 months of this year, a 37% drop. Now tax time rolls around, and not only does he need to pay tax on something he didn't sell with money he doesn't have because he never sold, but he would be paying tax on a much higher amount than the current holding, the opening $1,200 price, for instance, when the stock is currently much lower. And so it might be impossible to raise that kind of cash now that the stock has fallen. This can collapse a company or a billionaire or anyone, no matter how much money they have. Now, it makes sense for billionaires to pay the highest percentage of tax on income, which is true today. But most billionaires don't actually have that much income. Most of their wealth is unrealized and resides in the share of their companies. Elon Musk is worth over $200 billion, but the money he has is just on paper. We've witnessed what happens when he sells stock. The shareholders are actually the ones that get hurt. Elon voluntarily sold just 10% of his Tesla shares in 2021, which put enormous pressure on the stock. By forcing him to sell a piece of his Tesla shares each year with a wealth tax, now you're no longer taxing billionaires. In this particular case, arguably, you're taxing retail investors. It's been about 6 months, and Tesla stock hasn't recovered yet to the level where Elon Musk started selling just 10% of his shares. Now, Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax plan is quite dangerous and may have profound side effects. Elizabeth Warren has posted this chart on Twitter, which is already labeled with an ultra-millionaires tax. It's funny how quickly it's moved down the chain to expand away from billionaires. And it shows how much tax Elizabeth Warren would have liked to take from various billionaires in 2018. Elon Musk's net worth was close to $20 billion. Warren would have liked to extract about $500 million from Musk at this time. Now, this could have prematurely sucked all of the money out of Tesla and destroyed the company. This was a time where Tesla almost faced bankruptcy and was being attacked by short sellers. Forcing Elon Musk to sell huge amounts of stock would have put even more downward pressure on the shares at a critical time where Tesla needed a high price in order to raise cash to survive. Earlier, Warren said that the government helped see the company through rough times, but if she had gotten her way, her plan would have been the opposite and would have completely ransacked the company. Furthermore, Elon Musk's wealth has since gone up about 10 times to over $200 billion, and he paid $11 billion of tax last year, which is more than all of the billionaires combined under Warren's made-up ultra-millionaire tax plan. This directly shows how premature extraction of wealth is idiotic relative to being patient. The government has made so much more money, more than it ever would have gotten, simply by waiting just 3 years. The government is designed to be an entity that lasts forever. It can afford to be patient. It should be patient in order to maximize value for companies and even make the most money for itself. While the current tax system certainly has flaws, in the long run, it's actually somewhat designed to help cultivate innovation and earn tax revenue far into the future. Tesla itself pays over $500 million in tax currently, and as the company grows, it's on pace to pay significantly more over time. The government could take huge sums of money out of the system today, but similar to how we've seen it play out over the past 10 years, in the upcoming 10 years from now, it could be getting more tax revenue from much larger companies that isn't possible today. Not to mention the money the government makes from high-paying wages or from other parts of the value chain that Tesla uses to build its products. Elizabeth Warren is short-sighted and wants as much tax as possible to be paid today, which destroys much larger future returns. She believes that Elon Musk is at the tippy top, but that's not what Elon Musk thinks, and that's not what Tesla shareholders think, otherwise they would be selling out of everything. So perhaps counterintuitively to Warren's myopic thought process, it may be crucial to let the innovators and the wealth creators choose the right time to sell, which will actually in turn boost the government's long-term benefits. So do you think that it's okay for large companies and billionaires to avoid paying taxes for many years while their companies are in massive growth trajectories? Do you think this will create much larger taxable entities, which will be a bigger benefit to the future taxpayer in the decades to come? Or do you agree with Elizabeth Warren that maximum tax should be extracted at every step of the way? Don't forget to check out my last 2 videos on Tesla's new gigafactories and on the decline of Rivian. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that helped us support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.